Good morning and welcome to the trade setup right here on BloombergQuint Live. I'm Niraj Shah, and well, it's an important day of trade, the penultimate day for the reaction to come in. Actually, we may well get to know about the US election possible outcome only after trade begins tomorrow. So it is technically a penultimate day and not essentially the day before the verdict comes out. So just keep that in mind. And as I said yesterday, towards the end of the trade setup, I'll give you a quick snapshot of what the election outcomes, possible outcomes mean for the market. But first, what the markets themselves are doing ahead of the election verdict. And I think we're faring pretty well. I mean, the equity markets are actually doing rather okay for themselves. The world markets or the US markets did well yesterday. And the futures, as we understand, are up today. By the way, even during this time, the Dow is actually taking support at some long-term moving averages. There was a chart on Bloomberg which showed how the long-term simple moving average for the Dow at the 200-day moving average, simple moving average for the Dow was at these levels. This green line is the simple moving average on a closing basis. And the Dow has taken support right at that level and bounced back. Quite interesting from a technical trader's perspective. Asia is faring okay, naturally so, considering that Europe and US, both of them did okay. I think the manufacturing activity in Europe too was looking okay. But because of all of that, Asia seems to be doing okay for itself. Across the board, we're seeing gains on the Asian bourses, which is actually a really good sign. And if you look at the SGX Nifty too, some bit of gains, maybe not as strong as the rest of the Asian package, but I think there is a bit of tinge of green on the screen across Asia, and the SGX Nifty is no different. And I doubt that will be very different for our markets as well. So 0.72, about 84 odd points, not bad at all. Now, keep in mind, I mean, what do we watch out for our markets? Amongst other things, Reliance Industries and how that will perform. But I think the upbeat global markets give a case for a positive sentiment in our bourses in the session today. We ended very flat yesterday, courtesy Reliance, but the banks thwarted that kind of a down move that will typically come in if Reliance is down about 7-8%. And therefore, I say that a strong close. I say these words very carefully. You might argue that we had a flat close, but I think considering the fact that Reliance was down the way it was, I think we ended up very well, even though we didn't end at the high point of the day. So the strong close and fresh long positions augur well for the Nifty Bank, because the Nifty Bank had a fabulous close for sure. IT and Pharma, though, it's very interesting. You might call it rotation, but despite some very strong numbers reportage, the stocks aren't quite faring all that well. Now, I wonder if there is a case of people believing that the growth in the quarters to come for pharma might not be as strong, particularly for APIs, as it has been. Anybody's guess. I think there's a bit of an issue when it comes to the pharma numbers for sure. Strong numbers are getting sold into, and maybe they'll rebound. But for now, there's certainly some issue when it comes to some of these strong numbers as well. So let's wait and watch. We have Sun Pharma and Divi's amongst numbers later to come out this week. So it'll be an important one. But I think that's what you got to watch out for. IT and Pharma are in the backseat, but Nifty Bank essentially the key driver. Earnings today, as I said, Sun Pharma comes out with numbers, as does Adani Ports on the index. At the broader end of the spectrum, a bunch of very important high-octane mid-cap numbers. Adani Gas, Dabur India would be very interesting to see if indeed the rural portfolio and the Ayurvedic portfolio has done well. Godrej Properties was on a roll yesterday, and therefore important set of numbers. As also for PVR and Varun Beverages, Muthoot Finance is expected to come out with a good set of numbers any which way. So these are a few that I would watch out for when it comes to the numbers that I'll be watching out for. But on a good day, what are the stocks that one should watch out for? I think the standout stock has to be RAMCO Cements, purely on account of the numbers that it gave. Now, let me just dissect the numbers for you. The revenues were down at about 1265 crores versus 1325, but and sales volume was about 2.21 million tons versus 2.72 million tons. So those were problems. Why do I say, though, it is still a standout number? Is because of the other factors, which is the PAT was up about 40% at 235 odd crores. EBITDA up 49%, and the blended EBITDA per ton. Look at that uptake in the blended EBITDA per ton at 2035 versus 1118. Now, the key is, viewers, that's the point, that it's not just the cost savings that have happened. I think gross margins too have expanded for this one, and which is why, led by EBITDA, the PAT numbers were so well. Now, it's registered its highest ever net profit. highest ever EBITDA and highest ever EBITDA per ton. The higher prices and the cost control measures have aided bottom line. And somehow it seems that compared to all the other companies, on an EBITDA per ton metric, Ramco Cement stands out. And therefore, I'll watch out for Ramco Cement. Also watch out for Ramco Industries, which is the holding company of Ramco Cement. So if indeed Ramco Cement is going to react positively or negatively, but I think positively, Ramco Industries too could react. So watch out for this one. The second one is Cadila. Now, under normal circumstances, I would have thought that this stock will do very well, but pharma results, so you never know what could happen. But revenue is up 13%, net profit up 4.4x. Now, there was an exceptional loss in the base quarter, and therefore this is looking much inflated. Having said that, it's a reported number which is 4.5 times the base quarter numbers, and therefore people should take note of that. Margins 22.6% versus 18.9%, so improvement on that front as well. I will watch out for Cadila for sure, even though pharma stocks have corrected post numbers. This one is not like a Laurus Labs or some of the others which has rallied so strongly that it will have a big correction. So to my mind, maybe the markets will pay heed to these numbers. Watch out for this one. NTPC, the numbers, I think mixed bag, maybe some positives. Revenues and EBITDA certainly below estimates. I think the net profit did well compared to estimates, but that was also probably on account of a higher other income, which boosted the bottom line performance. So overall, the numbers not the best, but the slight tinge, the slight twist to the numbers, and the announcement is the buyback announcement. It's not a very large buyback, by the way. It's 19.79 crore shares, which is just about 2% of the equity. But it's at 115 rupees per share, which is about a 28.9% premium to the closing price of NTPC yesterday. So it'll be interesting to see if NTPC has some positive moves, though I must say that the numbers left a bit to be desired. So maybe a pop, but is there a pop that people should buy into? Don't quite know. Again, the buyback is just so small that it doesn't really materially alter. But you never know. Surprises could be in store. Watch out for NTPC. Watch out for Z. There could be a negative move. The numbers, net profit at 94 crores. Estimates were 262. EBITDA at 292. Estimates were 399. Margins at 17%. The estimates were 22.6%. Lower sales, higher advertisement and other expenses. All of these fed into the kind of margin as well as net profit performance. So, and there was also some provision that they have made for losses from City Cable, all of which doesn't augur quite well. It may be a stock that may react negatively, but Z is a very volatile and a choppy stock as well. So not very predictable, but certainly the numbers don't inspire any confidence. Shipping Corporation of India is the other one. We'll watch out for that. They've announced that they'll consider the demerging of the non-core assets on November 6th. Haven't studied the information in detail, but may bring about a reaction to the stock. Now, a couple of other things. There are some stocks which might have some reactions on the base of the F&O activity, so you got to watch out for them as well. Some of them, like Chola Finance, for example, fresh longs, and again, NBFC, vehicle financing-led companies probably doing well. Godrej Properties, as I said, ahead of the numbers, had an 8.3% uptake. STFC, again, vehicle financing, good numbers, went up about 7.8% fresh longs there. And DLF had some really strong bout of short covering. Do watch out for that one. Last but not the least, as I said, what we'll do every day for today and maybe even tomorrow is just keep you appraised of what the US election verdict could mean. So very quickly, a snapshot, viewers, for all of you missed this yesterday or just want a very quick snapshot. What will help markets at large is decisive victory for either side, Republicans or Democrats. If there's a decisive victory, it might still aid, even though a Biden victory might be considered as a higher tax thing, but there is also this bonanza of a higher stimulus that Democrats may put on. But you need a decisive victory, or even a status quo of the current regime might not disappoint the markets too much. What the markets may not like is that Joe Biden wins, but Republicans gain control of the Senate, which means that they could potentially block, or either side, right? Trump wins, but it's not a status quo, and Democrats have majority in both the chambers, which is the House and the Senate. Democrats currently have a control of the House, but if they gain control of the Senate, and if Trump wins, then it will be considered as not something that markets will like. What the markets definitely will not like and sulk big time if it's a close victory for Joe Biden And Donald Trump, as is widely believed, might contest that verdict, because that will certainly put pressure in the market. So various possibilities, but we'll try to we just try to explain to you in simpler terms as to what the market should be watching out for. So this is the biggest event in the last 4 years next to the Indian elections for India. Do watch out for it very closely. Have a profitable trading day ahead.